We had so much fun eating around the world, and I am so excited to go back to drink around the world. Good morning, it is day 5 of our Disney World adventure, so that means it is our last day at the parks, unfortunately. We had so much fun during our second day at Magic Kingdom. I think we made a great plan of riding all the rides on Thursday and eating all the food yesterday. We got reservations over at Be Our Guest restaurant. That is the Beast and Belle's Castle, and I have always wanted to have dinner there. Highly recommend if you're a Beauty and the Beast fan like I am. It was absolutely magical. Like I said, this morning is our last day, and you could tell that it's pretty early because my voice sounds like it's gone from all the screaming and laughing, but today is our Epcot day. We're taking it a little bit more chill. We're not here at Rope Drop. We're still here early, but been told that Epcot doesn't get as crowded as all the other parks, and so we're just gonna take today pretty easy, kind of eat and drink around the world. We'll bring you guys along. Present here. I realized as I started to edit this video that I didn't really do a great job vlogging on our last day at Epcot. I took tons of video footage of all the things we ate and the things we saw, but I didn't really check in to tell you guys about what we ate and update you throughout the day. I'm gonna try something a little bit different today, and I'm going to narrate our day at Epcot. That way I can give you all the details about the food and the places we went to retroactively. Let's go ahead and click play, and I will walk you through our eating adventures on our last day at Epcot. So continuing where I paused the video, after Minnie welcomed us into the World Showcase, we started our Eat Around the World journey over in Norway. While Mexico is the first country that you will technically walk through if you enter the showcase clockwise, we wanted to end in Mexico for the margaritas. So with that in mind, we decided to officially start in Norway. We started out very strong over at Kringla Bakery and Cafe. Lucas chose for us to try the school bread, which is basically a sweet bread roll filled with vanilla pudding and custard, topped with sweet icing and toasted coconut. Yeah, it was as good as it sounded. It actually competed as Lucas's favorite treat for the entire day. In addition to the school bread, we also ordered the iconic frozen Viking coffee. It has Bailey's Irish Cream, Kimura coffee liqueur, and coffee chocolate sauce, garnished with coffee chocolate crunch. Also as good as it sounds. Up next, we walked over to the next pavilion, which was China. To try and save room for all of the other pavilions, we did go for a smaller snack over in China. There are a ton of other treats and snacks to choose from in the China pavilion, including egg rolls or milk tea from the Joy of Tea stand. But for us, we kind of went classic and craved the pot stickers over at Lotus Blossom Cafe. I know, not as exciting because you can get pot stickers pretty much anywhere, even your local grocery store, but we, for some reason, were just craving pot stickers, so we got them. On our way out of the China Pavilion, we did get the chance to wave goodbye to Mulan across the pond before we snapped a photo of the super cute panda topiaries that were found at the very front of the pavilion. As you guys probably know by now, we did visit Epcot during the Flower and Garden Festival, so the whole park was filled with all these amazing and beautiful topiaries. Remember when I mentioned we had to save a bit of room? That was because I've been wanting to try a special treat over in our next pavilion, and I didn't want to be too full to try it. So after China, we walked over to Germany, which I was very excited for Lucas to experience considering his German-American heritage. Snow White and some of the dwarves welcomed us into Germany while Lucas grabbed a Bitburger premium pills to start our German adventure. We ended up spending a good amount of time in the morning over at Germany Pavilion. We walked through all of the different shops. We looked through all of the Christmas ornaments and all of the steins. Yeah, we definitely brought some souvenirs home with us. But with all that said, the treat that I was after was over at Caramel Kusha. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry if I butchered that, but it is basically the caramel store in the Germany Pavilion. The treat that I was in search for is called the Caramel Butter Bar, and I cannot tell you how much I loved this sweet treat. I'm sure everything over at the caramel store would have been just as good, but the caramel butter bar really competed as my first place treat that day. At this point, both Lucas and I have found our favorite Epcot treats, and we still had 8 countries to go, so we started off very strong during our Epcot eating adventure. Admittedly, on the fuller side, we did walk over to Italy next. The wine and the pasta was definitely tempting, but we actually ended up reaching for the iconic Italian dessert, gelato. By then, the day started getting a little bit warmer. We couldn't help but crave a frozen treat, so we stood in line over at Gelateria Toscana and purchased 1 scoop of Amarena cherry and 1 scoop of pistachio, and it definitely hit the spot. Up next was the American Adventure Pavilion. While we did make a stop to walk through the art gallery and pick up our KidCot passport sticker, yes, as 2 adults in our 20s, we did participate in the KidCot fun stops, and it was a lot of fun being able to collect all the stickers from the different countries. We ended up not eating over at the American Adventure Pavilion, however. We just ultimately wanted to save some room for all of the other countries. Let's be honest, we do have American food quite a bit considering we live in Boston, but for our next trip to Disney World, we did hear that the barbecue is definitely something worth stopping for, so we will note that for next time. Since we breezed through the American Adventure Pavilion, we reached Japan around midday. Lucas was pretty excited to get his favorite, which is sushi. We stopped by Kabuki Cafe to pick up a container of nigiri, which included salmon, tuna, and shrimp. We were very tempted to try the popular kakigori, which is Japanese shaved ice, or the alcoholic version, which I believe is called like the sake mist. But we did just have a frozen treat over in Italy, and we also wanted to pace ourselves with the alcohol at that point in the day. We were flying out back to Boston the following day, so we didn't think it wise to participate in the Drink Around the World challenge for this trip, but maybe next time. We also walked over to the Hanami food stand in search for a controversial festival treat called Sushi. Strawberry, pineapple, and cantaloupe wrapped in sweet rice and pink soy wrap. During other festivals, this stand has served the popular sushi donut, and let's just say that I wish I would have tried the sushi donut instead. After trying such a sweet treat, we were in search for something savory. We walked over to the Moroccan Pavilion, said hello to Jasmine, and then we walked around the beautifully decorated buildings until we found ourselves over at Tangerine Cafe. We wanted to try the grilled Moroccan spiced lamb kebab that we saw on the menu, and it was so good. Okay, so now we are moving on to my most anticipated and my most favorite pavilion in all of Epcot, France. We definitely ended up spending a big portion of our afternoon over at the France Pavilion. We were welcomed into the pavilion by Belle herself, who, if you didn't know by now, is my favorite Disney princess. We wandered around the different shops and we took in all of the beautiful flowers. The Beauty and the Beast topiary was gorgeous, and the Cogsworth and Lumiere topiaries were my absolute favorites from the entire day. At this point, you may be wondering if we decided to ride any rides while we were in Epcot, and we were tempted to try and ride the Remy's Ratatouille Adventure ride, but the line was 2 hours long, we didn't have Genie Plus, and we were very much focused on eating that day. Instead of waiting 2 hours to ride Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, we wanted to stop over at Les Halles Boulangerie Patisserie, and we have heard nothing but great things about this patisserie over in the France Pavilion. You could tell it was popular and a beloved favorite because of the line. We ended up waiting in line regardless and purchased the croissant jambon fromage, which is basically a ham and cheese croissant, and we also had dessert and shared a creme brulee because creme brulee is my favorite dessert. So after a couple hours spent over at the France Pavilion, we walked past the International Gateway and into the United Kingdom Pavilion. At this point, we were pretty full from our croissant and our creme brulee, and so we agreed to get a drink rather than food over at Rose and Crown Pub, where Lucas purchased half of the Bass Ale and half Guinness, and I purchased a glass of the Bass Ale, and we soon learned that Bass Ale is the world's first pale ale. We enjoyed our drinks over by the water. We just slowed down for the day, and after we kind of freshened up and enjoyed our drinks, we walked over to the second to last pavilion, which was Canada. Tucked away towards the back of the pavilion is this gorgeous waterfall, which I feel like would be easily missed if you didn't know it was back there, but I'm glad that we stumbled upon it. It is absolutely gorgeous. I think the Canada Pavilion is very well designed and kind of reminds me a bit of our Seattle, Washington, Pacific Northwest home. And then we walked over to the refreshment port to try the traditional poutine. Now, I have definitely tried poutine in the past during my various trips to Toronto and Vancouver, but this was actually Lucas's first time trying poutine, and he seemed to enjoy it. And last but very much not least is my second favorite pavilion in all of Epcot, Mexico. Like I said, we did walk through Mexico in the morning to get to Norway to start our eating adventure because we intentionally wanted to end in Mexico. As much as I wanted to start my day off with margaritas, I figured that it was probably wiser to wait for the margaritas and the tequila until the end of the day. Our number one treat that we wanted to try over in Mexico was not only the tacos, but the margaritas. We heard that the margaritas over at La Cava del Tequila are the best, and I am definitely in agreement. I tried the wild one margarita, but they also have the famous avocado margarita. The wild one was just so amazing that I didn't end up ordering anything else because I loved it so much. It was so good. After we enjoyed our margaritas in the comfort of the AC, we said goodbye to Donald as we actually made our way out of Epcot at this point. Hear me out. I'm not one to leave parks early. I'm really not. I am a rope drop to fireworks kind of gal. But to be completely honest, it was our very last day of our vacation. It was much hotter than all the other days, and we were full and exhausted. And so we ended up heading back to our hotel to kind of cool down, but we also wanted to repack our luggage because we had a very early flight the next day. And then once our bags were all packed up, we drove back to Epcot to have dinner. At this point, since we didn't have any reservations for any of the sit-down restaurants at Epcot, we thought that we would just go ahead and walk up to a counter service or a quick service stand for dinner. And so, to be honest, the margaritas were calling my name, and so I asked Lucas if we could actually have dinner over at the Mexico Pavilion since we didn't get a chance to try the tacos since we were so full earlier. And so we walked in back over to La Cava del Tequila to pick up our margaritas, but before we could do so, we noticed that there were a couple of empty tables over at the San Angel Inn restaurant, which is the beautiful restaurant tucked into the Mayan pyramid with all the lights and the beautiful ambiance. So we thought, let's just go ask to see if they could squeeze 2 people in because the fireworks were scheduled soon, and so maybe we could sneak in while others are headed out early to go see the fireworks show. So we walked over to the hostess and she said that she could seat us in about 5 minutes. And so we were absolutely stoked to be able to have a sit-down dinner without reservations. It does help that there was only 2 of us. We had guacamole as our appetizer, and of course I ordered another wild one margarita. I ended up getting the fish baja tacos, and then Lucas got the chicken enchiladas, and it was the best meal to end our Disney World adventure. I am still dreaming about how good every bite and every sip was. And that pretty much concludes our day over at Epcot, all the things we saw and all the things we ate. Unfortunately, we just didn't get around to riding any of the rides, so Frozen Ever After and Remy's Ratatouille are just gonna have to be 2 rides that we return to during our next visit at Walt Disney World. And that's the good news. Lucas had such a great time during his first visit to Disney World that he is 100% stoked to go back again. So it was a little bit easier to skip out on the rides over at Epcot knowing that we were going to be back soon. And on that note, that also concludes our Walt Disney World vlog series. Thank you so much for coming along with us. I had a lot of fun reliving all the memories, and I'm super excited to be able to watch back on all these videos, you know, months or years down the lines. Thank you for following along. I hope that you got some inspo for your upcoming Walt Disney World trip. Stay tuned because like I said, we will be returning to Walt Disney World, and it may be sooner than you think. Comment down below if you have any further recommendations on what you want us to see and do during our upcoming Walt Disney World trip. But until the next video, I'll talk to you guys soon.